bam, pa, pa, bam, bam. Can't let me in me anything where you are weird, man. Walk like a champion.
And now, here's Mike Muse with the political news.
So let's get right to it and meet the candidates.
That completes the opening statement.
We're going to get right to it.
On Sway in the morning.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Muse is here. Give it up for Mike Muse. Mike. How was your weekend, Mike Muse? How was your weekend, Mike Muse?
My weekend was great, man. I actually went home and surprised my mother.
You went to Michigan?
Yeah, we went to Lansing. It was her 75th birthday. Yes. So I went home and surprised her, so it was great. Took her out to dinner. Had a little party at the house for her.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did she ask where was I? Didn't know?
She was wondering if you're going to text her or tweet at her or Instagram her or something.
Yeah, Mike tries not to let me know the special events in his mother's life because she tend to like me more than him now. So you didn't tell me it was her birthday, so I didn't know.
Yeah, man, my mother loves you. And she loves the show, too, as well, and she listens every Monday and Wednesday.
Okay, well, hey, happy birthday, Ma.
Yeah.
She might be tuned in.
Mama
All right, a lot happened over the weekend, Mike. Let's get right to it, man. What you think is at the top of the list for you?
It did. I mean, there's so much breaking news that's happening, brother. The first is a matter of, we all know President Trump has issued his national emergency declaration.
Okay.
What Congress did was Congress allocated the funds in order for the wall to be funded and for them to open up the government, if you will. But President Trump didn't feel like it was enough money that he needed for the wall, and so he decided to declare a national emergency. And legally and constitutionally, some would wonder, does a president have the right to issue national emergencies? In some contexts, yes. But what is happening is the House has passed a resolution to deny his national emergency fund that he issued. It looks like the Senate is also poised to also pull back the resolution. And if so, Trump could veto it. So we're going to end and see if it's going to be a constitutional authority. But here's Senator Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader of the Senate, had to say about his thoughts on whether or not this national emergency is constitutional.
Well, that's part of what we were discussing today.
What do you think?
Well, we're in the process of weighing that. The lawyer was there to make his arguments. There were some counter arguments. I haven't reached a total conclusion about,
Did he fall asleep on the mic? What
No,
happened
no,
right
literally.
there?
No, that's literally how he ended because he's so confused on how to do it.
What the hell?
So citizens, when you really think about this and Sway, what's happening is they believe that the Republicans actually believe that the president doesn't have the constitutional authority to deliver this type of national emergency, because essentially what they're signaling is the president didn't get enough money from Congress, so therefore he's going to declare a national emergency. What they're setting up for, if this precedent, is that the next president goes into office, who could be a Democrat, could use this as precedent and actually issue a national emergency because they felt like they didn't get enough funding at all. Senator Rand Paul actually goes on to quote, says, "I can't vote to give the president the power to spend money that hasn't been appropriated by Congress. We may want more money for border security, but Congress didn't authorize it. If we take away those checks and balances, it's a dangerous thing."
Okay.
And the reason why I pull these quotes from the Senate is because the Senate is kind of known as like the protector, if you will, of our government and our democracy. The House, they're a little bit more of the I wouldn't say rambunctious, they're more the rebellious type, just because they're only there for 2 years, where the senators are actually there for 6 years, and so they're kind of the ones who seem to want to hold our democracy together. Mitch McConnell, he sees that, he recognizes that, and he doesn't want that to fall underneath his watch and in his position.
Okay.
Just to move on, we also saw what's happening with President Trump. He went over to Vietnam to do the summit with North Korea, Kim Jong-un. We also recognize that didn't go as well as President Trump had hoped in terms of he didn't walk away with any deals.
But he did walk away.
He did. Bump. He definitely did walk away, but he didn't walk away with what he said. And Sway and citizens, what's unraveling and what we're unpacking is exactly what we've been talking about since this summit, the first summit, has come together. North Korea has always wanted the conversation with the American president, any American president. And what American president has done is they have not authorized and granted that because the North Korean regime has always proven themselves to be liars. They've also proven themselves to not go through with their word. and to not show up. And it's exactly what is happening. Trump thought he can go over there and make North Korea denuclearize and issue the sanctions and summit. Kim Jong-un said he's not denuclearizing anything. He's not agreeing to any stance or any position. So I think the Trump administration now is realizing now what every other presidential administration has said in terms of when you can't trust him. But something that came out really interesting is whether or not this interesting friendship,
bromance.
I was gonna say romance, but bromance is brewing between Kim Jong-un and also President Trump. As we all know, citizens, the unfortunate demise of the young man over here who had passed away in the detention of the North Korean camp. President Trump believed that Kim Jong-un is respectable and didn't know anything about it. But again, House Minority Leader Republican Kevin McCarthy had this to say.
I think Kim knew what happened, which was wrong. That's why when we passed sanctions, we named it after Otto Warmbier. That's why the president kept those sanctions in place. The sanctions the president did not lift on North Korea are named after Otto, and I think the president clarified that.
Actually, he said North Korea, not Kim.
Well, I think Kim knew.
Yep. Okay.
So that is.
Me and Mike was deliberating while the clip was playing.
Yes, exactly. We're talking about it, brother.
Okay.
So what's happening is, we're seeing Republicans start to break away in terms of how they view President Trump and what he's doing. But here's what President Trump, from his own mouth, has his thoughts on Kim Jong-un.
He's a character.
He was laughing about
it. He's a real personality, and he's very smart. He's sharp as you can be, and he's a real leader, and he's pretty mercurial. I don't say that necessarily in a bad way, but he's a pretty mercurial guy. But he was talking to the press a little bit, and he's not big into talking to the press, but the press came in. Look, bottom line, I think he wants to get something done, but this wasn't the right time.
All right, that's President Trump, and he was speaking on North Korea.
Yeah, speaking of North Korea and the dictator Kim Jong-un.
We got Roy on the line from Dallas. Roy, what's your thoughts on this?
What up, Roy?
Roy, turn your radio down, Roy.
This is Lloyd.
Pardon me. What's your thoughts on this, the deal that's taken, or the non-deal with Kim Jong-un and President Trump?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, turn your radio down. Go ahead. What do you like to say?
Okay. I don't understand why we continue to expect something out of this guy that he's unable to produce. He got in office lying about the fact that he was a deal maker. He that can't make any deals. He didn't make a deal with Congress. He's trying to go around and steal money in order to build this wall. And we just continue to allow this dude to continue to do everything that he's continuing to do without any check and balances. We continue to say, hey, we got this investigation going on. When is this going to end, and when are we going to actually see what exactly the deal is with all of this?
That's a fair question. You know what, Roy? What we're going to do, we're going to come back and talk about what's the latest with the Mueller investigation and what President Trump feels about that. But your sentiment is that of many. Sway in the morning. You got any questions about this? 888-742-3345.
Niggas been
Now more of the daily news on Sway in the morning.
All right. Mike Muse is here. We're talking about the current state of politics right now. Mike Muse, we just talked about Donald Trump going to Vietnam to meet with Kim Jong-un. And just like presidents before, it wasn't able to really seal the deal, so to speak, with North Korea. We want to get your comments. Kendall's on the line from Kansas City. Kendall, good morning.
Good morning, Sway.
What's happening with you?
What up, Kendall?
Kendall,
Not much,
wait, hold on.
man.
Kendall, come on, baby. It's Monday, man. Come on, Kendall. Give it to me, man.
You got this,
Yo, Kendall
Kendall.
from Kansas City. What up, baby?
Give us some energy.
Good morning, Sway.
Yeah, my man, Kendall.
He's up now.
What are your
What's
thoughts?
good?
What's up, Kendall? What's your thoughts, man? What are your
Not much,
thoughts
man.
on this, brother? What are your thoughts on it, man?
I just feel like we real life living in a scandal, like the TV show. Like it's a real life reality TV show just going on every day. The news, everything. It's like ridiculous to me. I feel like if Obama was to do any of this, he would have been assassinated, impeached, or damn near both if possible. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, it is crazy.
That's a sentiment that a lot of people are saying right now, is a sense that President Trump has been able to get away with so much that no other president, including President Obama, would have been able to get away with, and including any leader of the Republican Party currently could get away with, and also, too, any potential Democratic candidate could get away with. There's something about this president that he's been able to grab such a stronghold on his base. And Kendall, and I think what you're going to, and something really interesting, and so I'm just kind of just thinking about this right now, is that President Trump has done a great job with his base. There was even a poll that came out over the weekend that said that 4 out of 10 voters actually would still support President Trump in 2020. And where that comes from is his base, his grassroots support in his base. And the reason why a lot of Republicans are afraid to check him, if you will, is because they're all up for primaries, right? And they have Trump supporters in their districts. And for some reason, Trump supporters are blind loyalists. And exactly as he said in the campaign, I can stand on Fifth Avenue and kill someone and people will still vote for me. There's just something about the psyche of a Trump supporter and a voter that they don't see anything different. And so that's why the other Republicans, they're afraid of that.
Okay. Kendall, man, you're a citizen, man. I'm glad you engaged in this conversation, brother. All right, we got Luis from from Texas. Is it Luis or Lewis?
Well, in Texas is Lewis, so probably either way.
Okay, what up, Lewis? Lewis on the line, man.
Already.
I'm already. Yeah, that's definitely Texas. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts
on
this?
Man, my main thing is you got this guy in office, and he goes and he meets with Putin and he meets with Kim, and you're talking to the sickest people alive to this day, and you praise them, and you don't have I guess the nerve to praise Obama. You question Obama's natural birth, if he was born here or not. He tells you he's not, and you don't take that. But then you go across, and Putin tells you he didn't mess with the elections, and you take that and run with it. I don't understand how that guy has any credibility when he doesn't even defend his own people here. In the States, it's mind blowing.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, But there's a flip side of that, too, who would see that totally different. The fact that he has met with Kim Jong-un, the fact that he has reached out to Vladimir Putin. They might say he's making ground that other presidents have never made by trying to really cultivate these relationships. That's what the Trump supporter would say.
The Trump supporter would say that. And again, I think to go to what you're saying right now and what our current caller has said and what the previous caller has said, I want to play a clip from President Trump when he was at the CPAC. And CPAC is a very conservative leaning organization where President Trump spoke for 2 hours. And if you listen to what Trump is saying and then you hear how the crowd responds, I think that would give us, at least today, a snapshot of where we are with his supporters.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you put the wrong people in a couple of positions, and they leave people for a long time that shouldn't be there. And all of a sudden, they're trying to take you out with bullshit. Okay? With bullshit. Never received a vote, and neither did the person that appointed him. And as you know, the Attorney General says, I'm going to recuse myself. And I said, why the hell didn't he tell me that before I put him in? How do you recuse yourself?
So if you hear how the crowd responded, that gives you really great insight into his base and his support. A president can say words like bullshit, and he can.
Was he mocking Sessions' accent, Southern?
That was Attorney General Jeff Sessions' accent that he was mocking. So here you have a sitting president who is able to say bullshit and is mocking Attorney General that he appointed. And everyone who he feels is attacking him are those who he also appointed. And to listen to how the crowd responds gives you great indication of the difficulty that the current Republican Party has in terms of check and balances.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of his base just feel like it's all funny and they're just still watching a reality show. I don't think they don't really so take it serious. It's just all funny and they're just still watching some kind of reality show and they just like it all as comedies. Mike Muse and Sway, that's just my humble opinion because they just laugh.
Okay, let's do this too, and a lot of folks are waiting on the Mueller investigation, Mueller probe. And President Trump has also, he's been speaking out against Mueller, the length of time that it's taken him to do this investigation. What's the latest on that, Mike Muse?
So just to wrap that part up really quickly, we saw last week that happened with Michael Cohen, the president's former attorney and former fixer. He testified before Congress, and he revealed a lot of new potential allegations, allegedly, that one, he spoke of, and two, we found out that's being under investigation, not just from Mueller, but also two from the SDNY, which is the Southern District of New York, which is completely separate from the federal case. And here's what we hear right now, the House Judiciary Committee Chair, Nadler, discussing where he believes this is going next.
We are starting this investigation. We will, tomorrow, we will be issuing document requests to over 60 different people and individuals from the White House to the Department of Justice, Donald Trump Jr., Alan Weisselberg, to begin the investigations to present the case to American people about obstruction of justice, corruption, and abuse of power.
So that would include John Kelly, the former chief of staff, Don McGahn, the former White House counsel?
I would imagine. I mean, I don't have the list in front of me, but we will be releasing the list tomorrow of over 60 entities, people.
So what that all just says, citizens, is that the Robert Mueller investigation is continuing. It doesn't appear to be winding down anytime soon. And now that the Democrats have taken over the House, that means they are now in control of the chairmanship of every committee, and particularly the judiciary, the intel, and the oversight. And so they have the authority to convene individuals to bring them forward. And it sounds like, by the way he is talking, that they are about to ramp up and turn up the heat on President Trump, his organization, his children, his family. And so, I mean, you would think we're at the end of Robert Mueller, but also, too, we're at the beginning of the House investigation. And the House is looking for, do they have grounds to really begin that conversation of the I word, which is impeachment?
Mike Muse, thank you, man. Thank you for covering all this. Also, Bernie Sanders returned to Brooklyn Saturday. It was his first official campaign rally for the 2020 Democratic Party. One of the things he said is he vowed to defeat the most dangerous president in modern American history.
Yeah.
We'll keep you updated on that, as well as others who entered the race. Mike Muse, way to cover everything, Mike Muse.
Yeah.
Well,
people
a lot
are entering
of it.
every day, bro. It's like a new candidate every day.
Every day, right?
I think they're saying that this may be the most presidential candidate for either party ever in the history of presidential races and elections. And so I don't even know how any of these candidates are going to push through, to be honest with you, because they all represent so many different facets of the Democratic Party in terms of the range. You have from the most moderate all the way to the most progressive. And who knows what this electorate wants, bro.
We need to do like the Oscars and get nobody. I'm tired of nobody hosting.
No host. All right. Hey, you can reach Mike Muse. You have any questions? We got Tyron in Florida, Abraham in South Carolina, Jeremy in Compton, Kiana in Baltimore, Michael in Cali. Hit Mike Muse up directly at...
hit me up at I am Mike Muse, M-U-S-N-S-A-M-E on Twitter and Instagram.
We got the VP of Sports, Steve Cohen, up next.
Hey now.
Sports with Heather B.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have fun, man. We're going to talk about this NFL Combine, Sway, citizens.
Sway in the morning, Shade 4 or 5, Chameleonaire.
They see me roll.